You're not losing weight because you're having too much rice. You're losing weight because you're missing these 5 things. And I promise you, you're going to feel so much better once you've watched this video. Number 1, protein is an afterthought. Yeah, a lot of people don't realize it, but when you eat more protein, it's not just to gain muscles and to recover between workouts. Protein has one thing that a lot of people to this day in the year 2026 still don't understand, and that is the satiety effect and the effect of thermogenesis, right? So when you eat more protein, a lot of people, take example like a baked potato, right? When you have baked potato and a lot of tuna, a lot of people will say, I can't eat anymore, this is quite filling, because tuna, a protein source, has that satiating effect. So what you want to do is you want to make sure you don't treat protein as an afterthought. So if you're having chicken pilau or biryani, whatever it might be, don't just focus on the rice, right? That's not causing direct weight gain. You want to have more protein. So you want to take a couple of pieces more, and that's going to give that satiety effect. And then secondly, the thermogenesis, right? So you have this big graph thing, right? And on that tells you your TDEE, so your total daily energy expenditure is how your overall energies are made up, right? Or how they're burned, rather. So you've got your BMR, which a lot of you might have heard of, but in there you've got TEF, right? So the thermic effect of food. What this means is you actually burn calories consuming certain foods. No one went to Nando's and overate in the butterfly chicken. It's pretty darn hard to do because your body temperature heats up, and when that happens, you burn a little bit more calories, right? And that's why most people, when they have more protein, more fiber in their day, they end up losing more weight because they're fuller, so they have no space for extra junk and extra rice. So protein should not be treated as an afterthought. Number 2, home foods are still calorie dense, right? So a lot of people seem to think, oh, my salads are homemade, so it should be fine. But something that some people still overlook, right, is the fact that oils still matter, right? Think about it. When you have oil, no one really tastes it that much unless it's drowning in oil, because oil is low volume in terms of the effect it takes on your stomach, but high volume in terms of the calories, right? So 1 tablespoon is around, what, 120 calories or so. And if you look at a tablespoon and you put it into the handy, you're going to realize that, whoa, that's not that much. That's why most people pull more straight from the bottle, right? So when you're making home cooked food, you don't need to weigh every tomato and onion and everything like some people do. No. All right, some people ask me whether weighing their turmeric should be, a good choice. I'm like, no, absolutely not. What you want to do is you want to make sure the bulky ingredients, like your meats, like your carb sources and the oils, you might want to track them. Number 3 is the weekend undo, as I like to call it, right? So this is where serial low-calorie dieting kind of messes up, right? Because you get Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then you're thinking, yeah, my God, I'm starving, the weekend's coming. And then you completely reset it by going overboard, right? Because people want to enjoy themselves and they think they're puppies, right? They want to treat themselves. And that's where most people never get anywhere with their nutrition and their weight loss. So rather than going very low calories Monday to Friday and then treating yourself with the weekend, increase your calories by 200-300 during the week. So rather than doing, let's say, 1200 from Monday to Friday and then going 2,500 to 3,000 on the weekend, instead, why don't you do 15, 16, 1700 Monday to Sunday? And what you'll find is some people don't actually realize that your hunger accumulates over the week. So when you have periods of very low calories, you're not going to feel starving on the first day, but over time your body will start to feel the effects, and that's when people start to regress and end up binging, I guess, right? So you don't want to go low calories immediately. Try and increase your calories. You want to try and lose body fat or lose weight on as many calories as possible. I know that sounds insane, but that's what you want to do, because eventually when you hit a plateau, that's when you lower your calories. And if you're starting with 1200, you're not going to be able to lower any more, because that's quite miserable. So Monday to Sunday, keep it fixed. Don't do super low on Monday to Friday, because you're going to find that by the time the weekend comes, your little treat is not going to be just a treat. You're going to end up blowing it entirely at the weekend. Number 4 is over restriction. Now this is a real thing. Now what I mean by that is I've had clients message me in the past and they're sweating at the thought of being invited over to a dinner or a davet, or we've got a wedding, for example, right? And they say to me, right, how should I approach it? And I'm like, well, you should just be sensible, right? Just pick the right choices. But I know that's not really helpful advice for some people, because some people say to me, my weakness is sweets and desserts and that sort of thing. So what you can do, and some of you already do this, and a lot of people do preach this, I get some hate for this, but this actually works for some people, right? Intermittent fasting. When you have, let's say, a davat coming up, or you've got wedding preps and you've got tasters to do, whatever it might be, right? You want to do a little bit of intermittent fasting, okay? What you're doing is you're keeping your calories in check. You're restricting yourself intentionally, okay? Because that's what IF really is, until, let's say, 2-3 o'clock. Then you want to have, let's say, a protein shake or something light. And then the time comes to enjoy that event or wherever it might be. And chances are you're not going to blow. I mean, most females naturally have smaller stomachs anyway, so you're not going to blow out 1800 calories in just one meal, okay? Be quite hard to do. So intermittent fasting is a great tool. It just gives you a bit of freedom, a bit of flexibility, right? Because it just means that, okay, I've got this coming up, so what I'll do is I'll just keep my calories in check by just restrict them early. A lot of you probably know this. This is kind of common advice that's been taught across social media platforms, and it's one that's worked tremendously well for our clients as well, okay? So use that. It's a good little tool. And number 5 is movement. So it's connected to your steps, right? So I mentioned at the beginning of this that rice is not the main cause of people's downfall, because I get that a lot on social media. People say to me, I can't lose weight because I'm addicted to rice. First of all, I mean, I'm not trying to poke fun at anyone, but I don't know how someone could be addicted to rice. That's quite mad, right? But let's say you are, right? And you're thinking, okay, you've told me 4 points. What about my exercise? Well, I'm not going to tell you to join a class or do grit, HIIT, anything like that, right? What I want to do is, rather than obsessing over my 1 hour of a walk I do in the evening, remove that altogether and look at ways you can get in your steps throughout the day, okay? Now, one way that I do this with our clients, for example, is I say to them, anytime you're on your phone, whether you're browsing, whether you're on a phone call, or whatever it might be, you want to move, right? Whatever it is you're doing this dead time to you, you want to move, you want to walk around, okay? Even if you're texting, or if it is important, or you're on an important work call, walk. What people don't realize is, and this comes from the author James Clear, who talks a lot about habit stacking, right? And what that means is doing 2 things at once to build better habits, right? In short, basically, right? So the way that we use it with clients is I'll say to them, right, if you find yourself browsing your phone, it's okay to do if you want to go on TikTok and kill a bit of time, but walk while you're doing it. And what people kind of realize is when they do it, when they're at home and they walk from room to room, they rack up like 2,000-3,000 steps. It's mental, and I do it as well. A lot of clients will know that I sound like I'm about to cough up a lung when I'm doing voice notes, but in the morning, for about 30 minutes or so, I walk from room to room and I'm responding to voice notes and working from home. And I realize that by the time I finish, I'm like 3,000 steps in, easy, right? So finding little pockets of time to get those movements, bouts of movement and steps, does not have to be one long, consistent 2-hour walk or a hill walk or whatever it might be. Speed doesn't matter, okay? The incline certainly doesn't matter. It's about keeping your body in motion throughout the whole day. Now, bonus one is, if anyone's got a treadmill or a walking pad, those are quite popular, you want to put that in front of a TV. I put this on social media the other day, and people are always like, oh, you know what, I've heard of that and I've seen it, looks like a good idea, but I've not done it yet. And I did it a couple of months ago. I told people to, invest in one. They did it, and they told me that, 8 to 10,000 steps is an absolute breeze now. But I'm not saying, stay indoors like a hermit like me, but it can help you, because it just means that on those days where it is rainy, cold and miserable and you don't want to go out for a walk, and your steps are quite low, put that walking pad in front of the TV and you'll realize that after a full episode of whatever it is you're watching, 5,000-6,000 steps will just kind of pass by like that, okay? So you want to try and do things that seem effortless that you don't have to think about, and that's when most people, they worry about their steps, because they're like, well, I've not had my steps in yet. And I say to them, well, what were you doing when you went to the supermarket? Where did you park? Oh, it looks like you park right next to the bloody shop, right? Why don't you park further away? Why do you take the stairs? Okay, when you do the school run, the mosque run, why don't you walk? If you can, if your kids are okay with that. When you're browsing your phone, were you walking around? No, you were sitting down and your neck was kind of cradled like this, and you were getting neck pain at the same time whilst you were sitting down. When you're on a phone call, you were sitting down. You want to take every opportunity to move. Your NEAT, I'm sure some of you have heard of this, your non-exercise activity thermogenesis. I count it as steps as well. Strictly speaking, it's not really, but it's non-exercise activity are things that you don't think about too much. So, standing about, fidgeting, moving around, doing all this that I'm doing as well. That naturally declines as people lose weight. So I say to people, when you are trying to lose body fat, always remind yourself of these little moments where you should be getting up and moving around and getting your little steps in, because it adds up. So if it's 5 minutes of a phone call and you're walking around, that might be 500 steps. That will add up over time. Okay, so there you go. 5 simple fixes, and I promise you, if you stop obsessing over just rice being the cause for weight gain and you implement these, you're still going to be able to eat your rice and you'll be able to have balance, and balance is the key to everything. Now you're probably thinking, right, that's cool, that's very helpful, but calories, how many calories do I need to consume to lose weight? Believe it or not, there's a correct way of doing it. A lot of people immediately jump straight to calculators and they think, right, I want to lose half a pound and a half a week. These are my numbers. Well, it's not like that, and I promise you it's not like that. It's not going to work like that. But the good news for you is in around 6 minutes, I've actually broken it down for you. So before you go, if you want to take this to the next level, watch this video before you go. I promise you, I swear, hand on my heart, when you watch it, you'll have that aha moment, and in a few weeks' time, you'll lose a couple of kilos. Check that video out before you go, and I'll see you guys very soon.